canon is just evolving through time on stories that need to be told. That's just my like view of the canon, or like my optimistic view of it.
Welcome to the Next Canon podcast, where we are talking about how to recreate and reimagine the American theater canon to make it even more representative of our current theater community. Today, I'm so excited to welcome Christian Zumbado. Christian is a graduate from PCPA, the Pacific Conservatory of Performing Arts, and a fourth year at Cornish College of the Arts this year, finishing it up. Christian uses he, him pronouns. Just closed SHU with ACT and turned 32 days ago. Happy birthday. Woo.
Thank you.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm honestly really excited.
How
Such
have
a
you
great
been?
Topic.
I'm so stoked on it.
Yeah.
How have you been recently?
Good. I'm excited for this new decade. I've been really pumped for 30, knowing that like I'm getting my bachelor's this year and like finding like more gigs to do with photography now here. So that's exciting. So like the headshots are going well in Seattle, and then I just closed SHU with ACT, and I like loved it. It was so amazing. John Lang, the artistic director, also went to PCPA, and it was just really cool to be like able to do theater in this pandemic, and like all Latinos, like everybody who was in the cast, including the director, the the playwright. So that was really, really awesome. So that was cool. And yeah, just trying to get through Zoom classes that I know everybody kind of hates at the moment.
I bet that's absolutely wild. I honestly can't imagine it like at all, having graduated not last year. Wait, I don't even know what year it is anymore. In 2019, which feels like 8 billion years ago at this point. Yeah, you're gonna have to tell us more about SHU later on in the pod.
Yeah,
I really want to hear about it and the whole process that you went through, because that's amazing. So tell them a little bit more about yourself. You went to PCPA and then you went to Cornish. When did you start doing theater?
Yeah, so it's a funny story. Like 5 years ago, I was going to school for communications. I didn't go to school at first. I like traveled and worked, and then I loved communications. I wanted to be an agent, maybe get into that territory, because I loved like sales and talking to people. And then I had to take an elective right before I got my AA, and the only one that was open that I liked was theater literature. And so I got into that, and I met a bunch of people at Fullerton College. And I think actually, Sarah Falero was was going to Fullerton College at that time also, which is a crazy connection that she went to Cornish. But my friend, I met a guy named Tyler Campbell. He was like, "You're technically part of the department. Do you want to be a part of my scene for directing?" And I was like, "Sure." Like, I've never acted before. And I did it, and things just kept coming my way, and they had like a directors festival, and one of my friends, good friends now, he wrote a play that I was leading, and after I did that show, I just was hooked. So I quit communications. I went to school for photography, which is my other passion, and then went directly to PCPA and now Cornish. So I don't know, it's been a crazy ride, but I love acting so much, and honestly, like all the facets of theater at this point, through education, like now I'm like, I love directing. Like I want to go into that route too. Like,
Yes.
Yeah. But anyway, that's how I got into acting. Yeah. And I absolutely love it.
I love that story. I've never actually heard that full story. I love it. I mean, we met when you were doing like the new student day at Cornish, or prospective student day.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
I do. That was awesome.
So let's just flow right into this. I want to hear, so you did theater literature. That's really cool. What do you think the canon is?
So for me, the canon, like just for my opinion, is really like plays that throughout the years have sent a message, and that should be kept in that canon. I feel like a lot of the classics that have boosted theater like to what it is now are dated and they need to be checked on. You know what I'm saying? A lot of stuff that we even now like hold dear. But I feel like a canon is just evolving through time on stories that need to be told. You know, that's just my like view of the canon, or like my optimistic view of it.
Definitely. What shows just scream like, oh, that's canon, that's been canon forever? Like, what are they, like, good shows, whatever, just in general, what shows quintessentially like canon to you?
For me, at first, like I would have to say Sondheim. Like a lot of Sondheim's work, uh, I'm like pretty new when it comes to at least theater. You know, so like a lot of the plays that I've been introduced to or I know as have been through my education, like and me looking around. But like Sondheim was the first like playwright. Just you don't focus on or you don't mess with Sondheim, right? So like for me, that was the first experience of like this is canon. You know what I mean? And then really going through like Arthur Miller, going through a lot of older playwrights, and so like for me, seeing Crucible like done by PCPA and like that's like a classic that is just so powerful. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so you have a lot of stuff that like that just pops up to me like I guess through time in Canada. Like now you have Hamilton, even though there's haters, that's still like such a revolutionary
Haters gonna
show
hate.
now, and like it's just to be able to be a part of history, and like see it open and everything is just so cool.
Yeah, it's definitely changed a lot, and we're hoping that it changes even more. Like you said, there's some stuff that's really dated that we even hold near and dear. So it sort of feels like those untouchables in a way.
Exactly, yes. You know, you even had like Tennessee Williams, you know, like some of those, like, yeah, so such classics, but also it's that's where what I'm talking about as far as like timing. Like, is this really the time to like show something that can be very triggering in this like moment? You know what I mean? Things like that that
Yeah,
I feel like need to be checked, even though those are classics. You know what I mean?
definitely. I always think about uh like The Tempest or
Hmm.
Taming of the Shrew. Like, what do we need? Do we need these right now? Do we need them told a different way?
Hmm.
I personally, the people listening have heard me say, like, I'm not super interested in seeing them right now. Like, there's so many other amazing things to see and listen to and all of that, than to hear
Exactly.
that. Like,
Yeah, mostly with
Shakespeare's,
Shakespeare, you exactly. You have Othello. Like Othello is probably my favorite. It's in the top three and doesn't get like as much attention like on a regular basis as it does for a lot of other Shakespeare. That's like a show. Why did you tell that right now? Like and you have I mean a lot of stuff happening. Like what's the show they just did? Julius Caesar, the one I did with all the whole female cast. Oh my gosh, it was amazing. I don't know if you saw it on BBC. It was
mm-mm.
incredible.
Oh, I love
So
that.
like stuff can change, but like there's definitely some Shakespeare that's just like why are we putting that up right now? Like,
Yeah, it's just questionable in some ways. And then I also am like, I love 10 Things I Hate About You, which is Taming of the Shrew, just like reimagined
mm-hmm,
on film. It's a conundrum because when I did it, it was one of the first shows I did in high school. And I didn't really think about it at the time, but now I'm like, wait a second.
yeah.
What is this saying? Like you were saying, the messaging. What message are they trying to send us?
Yeah, and funny you said that like so my first show ever in Fullerton, like after I did that director's fest, they cast me in Drowsy Chaperone.
Mm-hmm.
So I was Adolfo, Drowsy Chaperone. So much fun. I had like a great time, but that show is great and really funny, but has a lot of racist things that you either need to like completely take out of the show or not or just don't put it up. But I think it's an amazing show. It's great. But like, you know, when I did it and I didn't know any better at the time, it was just like, oh my god, this is my first musical, blah blah, you know. And opening of the second act is called Nightingale, and it's Adolfo coming out and like pretending to be like a Asian character and like completely like it's just a really like, whoa, at least thinking about it like now, it's like, why would we put that up? So yeah, it's very, you know, looking back at some things, it's like, oh, okay, you know, like definitely no.
Yeah. It's a hard one because it's a lot of, you have to be mindful and you have to be intentional with that mindfulness as like the people choosing what shows to put up and all of that. Because there's space for those classics and we want to study the history of them, but at what cost is really the question, in a not like jokey way usually, but like who could be hurt, you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
that's something people don't think about that often when they're doing stuff like that. In that sort of vein, do you have a show that's gotta go, like a show that you think is just a little too uh, outdated for this time? Let's put it on the back burner for like 50 years. Obviously, we're not erasing it from the world to the listeners out there, but for you, Christian, do you have a show that's gotta go?
For me, there's, I feel like there's a couple of shows that gotta go as far as like, let's say like Taming of the Shrew, things like that of classics. But for me, it's more representation, mostly right now. So there's shows like You Can't Take It With You. I love that show. I think that show, the structure of that show is so smart, such a funny show. But you have the only people represented, or who are the servants, are usually Black actors, and it is written that way. And like you know, PCPA did it, which it was an amazing performance, and it was such a good show. But like I know, like from the actors involved, it's like, yeah, it was great, but I mean, we were just like the servants in the show. So for me, like it's things like that need to be very much like looked at, and that's just my opinion on like things that need to be shared with the community. So like that's an example of a show, but it really comes down to representation, and also not obviously casting in what was written, right? Like we're not gonna do in the Heights, like you see that all the time, In the Heights being done all over the place with a non Latino cast. Like so, it's just like, what are we doing here? What are you guys trying to like tell? Things need to be stricter when it comes to things like that, and then we can be open with um, like exploring different things, like changing, you know, like having somebody from who identifies differently be the lead of that show, or like things like that, and like how does that change the show, and that's really interesting, you know.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you. I love that show. And I feel like with that specifically, you see it done at high schools a lot, and high schools with money. And so lots of white kids. And that's the like beginning of the problem to me, is like teaching them that that's okay
Hmm.
when it was not intended in, you know, it tells a totally different story that they've never experienced in their lives at all. You know what I mean? Is that
Exactly.
so?
Yeah, you know, like you know, you see that show needs to be told, like in the people who have lived those stories, you know. But I feel like there needs to be a stricter release of rights for some shows, just because you're causing that to happen and making that seem okay, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, and like obviously we all want to love and share the shows, but like if you're putting it in the heads of kids who don't understand the social implications because they didn't grow up anywhere near any story like that, like you'll see that happen in like the Midwest, and I'm like, okay, you guys, they don't know. Like you said earlier, like I didn't know any better. I was young. I
Hmm.
had the same feelings about a couple of shows too. Like it's a training thing, and then that makes it harder to unlearn later when you realize, you know. So that's a great example. I love that show. I feel like you also see that a lot with Hairspray, which is
Hmm.
problematic, and that one seems like it should be so obviously problematic, but you see high
Yeah.
schools do it all the time.
Yeah, you see that with West Side Story too. Even though, like, again, like American classic, right? So
Hmm.
it's like, even though that's an American classic, and like that choreography, everything needs to be shared. It's also like, make sure we're sharing it the right way, because it's like, you're really gonna cast everybody not how they're supposed to be. Like, then don't tell the story, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If you're not going to cast the right actors for it, meaning like representation wise, like
Correct.
please don't do it. There's literally so many other shows to do if that is your problem.
Exactly.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
Woof. That's a big one. It's why this podcast exists. Hello, everyone trying to cast their shows. Listen to us. Okay. And now to move it into like a more light, I don't know if light is the right word, but a different sort of section. Do you have a show that people should know? Like a show that you are really jazzed about and you're like, this should be canon. I don't care if it was written yesterday. This show should be in the canon and everyone should know it.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of shows. For me, there's a beautiful show called Water by the Spoonful. That is just incredible, and it has it's a Latin cast, like Latino lead, but also has like a lot of represented ethnicities, and it has to do with the relationships you have through the internet as well. So it hits a lot of different like areas that like people are experiencing right now, and great stories, like very so like visual. It makes you want to read it. It's part of a trilogy, but it's usually done by itself, but definitely one that I feel like people should read, that is so good.
Is it a play or is it based on a book? Or
it is a play.
Okay. When you say it's a trilogy, is it a book too?
Oh no, it's a trilogy of plays.
Oh, dope.
Yeah, so like she did write the Water by the Spoonful first, but then she ended up making it a 3-part series, and it's so good. So I feel like that one, I've seen it done a couple times, but usually it's like very much like Oregon Shakes or something, and it's going to be up for like a little bit of time, but it's not really like done on a massive scale, and I feel like that's a story that's really cool.
If you were to synthesize it in a sentence, what would it be about, since I've never seen it?
I
know that's so hard. That's a director's question.
Well, that one, it's weird because it's I think it's how I feel like loyalty of friendships, and like the strength of friendship and family. Like if I had to like put it into, I guess, words, it's like great to like see everybody's previous experience of them talking about it openly on a forum, and then like growing from that. So I feel like that's like maybe like a summarized version of why I think like, you know, that show should be shown. So that's really good. I love a lot of shows. I just did a show with Sheila Daniels last year when you were still in the Cornish, called Sonnets for Old Century. In that show, it's just a bunch of poems, but the way that every character hits you. I played a character called Rick Coca, and my mother is from Nicaragua, right? And the character was from Nicaragua, and the way he's describing the country, and like looking back at it being here, and the fear of like the police, like even if it's just passing, do you know what I mean? So there's so many great stories there that I wish like that was told more, because I feel like that's a show that could be put up very like with a very little budget, and also tell a great story. So yeah, just like promoting a lot of like Latino playwrights to to be shown, because you just have a lot. You even have like Blood Wedding, it's beautiful. So yeah,
There's so many.
Yeah, always will push those to be shown.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm here for it. You know, I love that. And it was Sonnets from an Old Century. Is that what it was called?
Yeah, Sonnets for an Old Century.
For an Old Century. Yes. Got it. Mm-hmm. Dope. Love that.
Yeah,
who wrote that?
That was
Octavio?
No. Rivera.
Jose Rivera. Right. Yes. Sheila did another one like this summer before, I think, that was also really, really powerful, and like
I believe she did Lydia, right?
She did. It was wild times.
Which I love Sheila. She like loves to tell a lot of different stories. Like oh my gosh, when I first got here, that was the best show, one of the best shows I've ever seen that she did at Seattle Rep. Indecent. Oof.
Yeah. Well, oh my God, it was so good. All the
Yeah.
water at the very end.
Yes, the pictures that she was able to make, great like show, like to show like like a lot of Jewish culture. Also, it was just so visual. Yeah, that's the type of shows, and like it's so cool to be in Seattle when you have so many like their original projects that are done here, which I love about the city compared to like LA. You have like certain theater companies that will do that, but not as wide as they do it here, which is awesome. There, shout
I
out
think
Seattle Theater. Yeah.
shout out Seattle Theater. I think one of the most beautiful things about theater is that we want to see stories that we don't understand. We want to.
Yeah.
We truly, truly do. And it's just the making sure they're done by the right people to tell it authentically and like from the heart. That's what like sets it aside, in my opinion. Because I love those. Like the King of the Yees was really good. I don't know if you saw that. I think that might have been before you got to Seattle.
I think that was before I was here.
It was at ACT. It was really wonderful. But yeah, and then like all of the Indecent was absolutely stunning. It's
Right.
just all these things you don't you want to understand, and theater is a way to help people understand things, even though they've never lived through it, because you feel like you're living vicariously through the story.
Exactly. And like really being able to show things like I love let's say The Shoe, for example, the show I just did. It's like a full female. I mean, most of the cast is like female representing, and like these women are written so strong, and like also like the struggle that you like that we're going through. It was a beautiful story about family, and that would have been so cool to put it up because we were supposed to put it up on our feet at ACT.
Oh, really?
But yeah, we were. But that's what I've been like really loving. A lot of like strong women, because like Indecent, like you had such strong like just actors. Oh my gosh. But there was a show that I wanted to bring up called The Other Place. I saw this show in Sacramento, and the best actor that I've ever met, her name is Melinda Perret. Shout out to her. She was a lead, and that show, what like I haven't like cried like 5 times in a show like in a while. And the show is about this like woman in her 50s who is like a pharmaceutical rep, and she's like in a convention like selling this like this medicine, and so all the transitions throughout the play are her going back to the presentation, and that's like a way to give like a good amount of exposition for her and stuff like that. And she starts suffering from what she sells, or like the symptoms of why she needs to start taking that medicine. So it's just crazy to see like this super strong woman from the beginning, and like her health deteriorate, and like everybody like in her family around her like try to help her. Oh my God, beautiful story. But yeah, like I just would love like more original projects to be shown like they do here in Seattle, and shows like that like aren't really done that often but can resonate. Like everybody's had like a person in your family who's just gotten sick, where like you remember them such a vivid way when they were cognitive and there's such memories, and when you see that happen, it's just like, whoa, like such a different person. And that's how that show affected me. I was just like, whoa, it was a lot, but so great. Yeah.
Like, ouch, that hurts, but it's so good.
Yeah, exactly.
That watching someone deteriorate is so hard. So yeah, that play sounds really crazy. Like,
yeah, great. And like, like I always suggest that for like new monologues. Ooh, let me tell you something. Like
there's good monologues in that one.
Great monologues in that one.
Love it. Yeah. Love that. Good to know. What was the name of it again?
The Other Place.
The Other Place. Wonderful. Mm-hmm. So do you have any shows that are happening right now or in the future, if you jump into the future, that you'd like to promote? Anyone, you don't have to be involved, or you can be involved, either or.
Yeah, right now I'm cast in, we don't know the names of the play yet, but it's called the Expand Upon series that Mirror Stage is doing this year. So what they're doing for their season is like taking each section of their season and making it a theme. So like they did emancipation and stuff like that. And then spring is going to be immigration. So they cast me, and it was really cool the way they did it. It's like they sent a big group of actors. I think it was like maybe like 15 of us. That your cast, kind of. And they hire two playwrights, and the playwrights get to see the pool of actors, and all they get is our picture, where we came from, our age, and like maybe one more thing. But then out of the pool of actors, they pick who they want to write into their story. And then if you get picked, then you're technically cast. Does that make sense? So like,
Yeah.
thankfully, I got written into both plays.
Cool.
So I'm really excited because the last series they did was amazing, and so I'm really pumped to be able to do both my shows. I'm going to be in representing Latinos and the struggles that our families went through and that we still go through here. So that's going to be amazing. Keep a lookout for that in April. And also, I want to promote Young Hot Thespians. So it's our theater company that we have been building over here, and we have a project that will be dropping at the beginning of the year that I'm really stoked about. I can't really say that much of it, but it is like in a film format, so it's going to be really fun to show that. And then we're building our season, and we're so like representation and sharing stories that need to be told to the community is our goal and always our mission. So I'm really excited to be working on things. I have a show that I want to put up next year, hopefully in at least a Zoom format. So be on the lookout for that. But yeah, Young Hot Thespians, and it's the regime. The takeover is now.
Hell yeah, YHT. Do you guys have like an Instagram specifically for that or anything?
Yeah, Young Hot Thespians.
There they are.
We are gonna start really posting everything at the end of the year, beginning of the year. It's like when we're really gonna start pushing. Now we have a lot of people who are willing to fund our shows and stuff like that. And yeah, be on the lookout. I don't want to say the name of the project yet, but it's gonna be really cool.
Keep the secrets.
Yeah.
Keep the secrets. That's
Yeah.
awesome. I'm so excited for you and you guys, all of you. Who would you like to see on this podcast talking about shows that gotta go and shows you ought to know?
Okay, I have a couple of friends that I feel like would be very good. I definitely, if you haven't reached out to Trey, I would definitely reach out to Trey. I feel like a really good person that I would, if you haven't met them yet, he's a part of our crew. I feel like if we introduce you to him, Nancy Duendi,
Cool.
Nancy Duendi would kill it on this podcast. He's just so knowledgeable, great actor, amazing director. I also feel like this is such a great podcast. Like I would have people like Sheila Daniels, she'd be willing to do the podcast. Like, yes. Kate Meyer, or Kathleen, she retired, and hopefully you can have Kathleen here. Like she had to do so much of work on representation and stuff when she was in Hawaii, and all those stories are so interesting. We've talked about that a lot.
I love
Kathleen.
Kathleen.
I guess the top recommendations that come to mind, I guess,
Okay, dope. Well, thank you so much. I love all of those. That would be dope. I am so excited to have more and more conversations. That would be amazing. Thank you so much for joining me on this podcast. I loved hearing all the things you had to say. You're right. Representation is so important. We've been talking about it on so many of these episodes, and I just love hearing everyone's perspectives and point of view and getting everyone's voices out there. That's like my mission with this podcast.
Yeah, no, and keep going, because that's a mission that needs to be heard. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.